Empires inevitably fall, and when they do, history judges them for the legacies they leave behind. The Suez Crisis is one such legacy of the bygone colonial superpowers. It is the moment that marked the end of France and Britain and the start of US and USSR. After 10 years of construction, Suez Canal was finally built in 1869. The 193-kilometer long canal separated Egypt and connected the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean. Before the construction of the canal, ships traveling from Asia to Europe and vice versa had to go around the Cape of Good Hope in the southern tip of Africa. The Suez Canal cut this journey by about 8,900 kilometers. The canal was initially owned by a private company under Ferdinand de Lesseps. Majority of its shareholders were French and Brits. Things were running smoothly up until World War II. The Brits and French, despite being the victors in the war, became devastated economically. Its colonies were slipping from its fingers one by one, and Egypt was no exception. You see, Egypt gained its independence from Ottomans in 1922, but the level of control Britain had on them was enormous. And the symbol of this oppression was the Suez Canal. After World War II, the world was splitting into two camps. Nasser, who was the president of Egypt at the time, played both the Soviet and American bloc like most countries. USSR at the time was funding infrastructure projects in Egypt to woo them to their side. This included one of the largest embankment dam, the Aswan Dam. Despite having Soviet funding, Egypt didn't have enough money to complete this project. Nasser asked USA for it, but when he was turned down, he turned to the Suez. Nasser nationalized the canal. This infuriated the French and British. Despite Nasser promising fair compensation to the former owners of the canal, the British and the French made a plan with the Israelis to take back the canal from Egyptian control militarily. The Israel army struck first on October 29, 1956, with the British and French forces joining suit later. The offensive was successful, with Port Said and Port Fouad falling to the British and French forces, while the Sinai Peninsula was effectively under Israeli control. Despite this initial loss, the Egyptian army fought on. The Soviet Union, eager to gain influence in the Middle East, supplied arms and ammunition to the Egyptian army. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev threw in his weight at the United Nations Security Council meeting convened to mitigate the crisis. He went as far as threatening to rain nuclear missiles on Western Europe should the Israeli, French, British forces not withdraw in time. The response of the United States was also hard. President Dwight Eisenhower warned that should the British, French, and Israelis not withdraw from the Suez Canal, his government would impose economic sanctions on all three. This was the moment the two old colonial superpowers realized that they are not the top dogs anymore. The world had changed, and there were new bosses in town. Humiliated by all this, the armies withdrew from Egypt. The Suez Crisis marked the first use of United Nations peacekeeping force. The armed group dispatched to the area supervised the end of the hostilities and the withdrawal of the three occupying forces. Thank you for watching. Comment below on what you would like to hear from us in the future. Like the video and subscribe to Cape Now.